Hello, hello, goblins and ghouls. It is your girl SJ, and I'm here with my good friend.
Jeff.
And together we are the Popcorn Patrol podcast. We have a good show for you guys today. We've got another classic Halloween film happening. It is the last of our Halloween spooktacular. It is a special episode that we're releasing on Halloween. So we hope you enjoy. Welcome back, guys, and welcome to the Popcorn Patrol podcast. Today we are doing our special Halloween episode on the movie Halloween, of course. And I just want to catch up a little bit with you, Jeff. How's your week going?
Week's going pretty good.
Yeah. Are
Yeah.
your kids all ready for trick-or-treating
Oh
and
yeah.
Halloween? They've got their costumes and everything's good to go.
Yep. My
Nice,
son's
nice.
favorite holiday.
Yeah. You know what? The kids really enjoy it. My little one's been asking me like every day if it's Halloween yet. I really want it to be Halloween. I'm also getting, is it Christmas yet? And I'm like, no,
That's what it's like
son,
in my house. My
you
daughter
know.
is just like, Dad, when can we start listening to Christmas carols? Yeah. And my son is the kid. He's like, okay, now that my sister's done trick-or-treating, can you and I go out? And it's like, yeah, sure. And I'll jump
Yeah.
in the car and he'll just run from house to house while I drive
Nice.
slowly down the street. And he
Nice.
just runs from house to house. We'll do 8, 10 streets after my daughter's done, just him and I. Comes back.
Yeah.
And he's probably got 3 pillowcases full of candy.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
You know what? We have to drive into a larger town to trick or treat because we're out in the woods and there's like no one around us. So, I really miss dressing up our house to see the little kids, come and trick or treat with their costumes and they used to take pictures when we lived in town. They
Yeah.
used to take pictures on our porch with all our decorations and stuff. So we don't really do that anymore. So now we meet friends in town and we take the kids where there's a lot of concentration of houses in
Yep.
one area.
Nice.
So, yeah, because if we did it here, it would be like they would walk and they would get tired before they even got to the house.
Yeah.
And the driveways are like super long and like windy and bendy. Yeah, by the time they got there, they would be crying. So we just drive them in town. But
I'm one
uh
I'm one of those good and bad parents. I'm bad because the couple days after Halloween, I take most of the candy, and I'm good and I take it into work and I share it with all the adults at work. So my kids
nice.
still get a whole bunch of candy, but then I also give it a lot of it away.
So you're like the Robin Hood of candy,
Yeah, I'm taking from the
basically.
rich, giving to the poor.
I'm sure your kids
My
wouldn't like
coworkers
that too
love
much.
it.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah, they love it.
Yeah, it's a fun time of year, like I found Halloween always a fun time. Um, and we have Remembrance Day in Canada. We have that on November 11th. And I think it's very important to celebrate our veterans. Much respect, shout out to them. And we will have some special episodes for, the veterans out there. We'll cover some war movies, some newer and an older one, I think. So, stick around and see what happens. But we should get right into this movie and start chatting about good old Halloween and Michael Myers. Give me some facts. What do you got for me, Jeff?
So this classic movie was released in 1978 on a $325,000 budget.
Hmm.
It was such a low budget that they couldn't even hire any good actors. Now you might think, well, it's got Jamie Lee Curtis. She's a great actor. This is at the beginning of her career.
Mhm.
She got hired based on the fact that her mom actually was in the movie Psycho.
Okay.
John Carpenter was like, hey, let's hire her and maybe we can coattail off some of that popularity from other
Yeah.
worked because it brought in over $70 million at the
Oh,
box
wow.
on only $325,000 budget. That's incredible.
Yeah.
It's directed by John Carpenter. It was written by John Carpenter and his then girlfriend, Deborah Hill. It stars Donald Pleasance, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Tony Moran.
Okay. All right. Awesome. I mean, should we get into the popcorn paradise of it all?
Absolutely.
Um, Listen, this movie, I liked it. I want to start with the pace of the movie. How did you find the pace of the movie? Because I found it decent. I found like the beginning part was a little bit slow, I would say, but then it really started to pick up around that 40 minute kind of mark. Because but the buildup is there, right? Like I like that the buildup is there. So you see,
My
um,
opinion of the pacing belongs in the Popcorn Patrol prison.
oh shoot, son.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, we'll leave that then. Okay,
I'll say
listen.
this. I will say this. A positive thing about the pacing was consistent.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
dragging on the whole movie, consistently slow and slow
Oops.
and
Oops.
slow.
Oops.
But that's for the Popcorn Patrol prison.
Right. Okay, listen, there are some good jump scares. There was a couple of good jump scares. Um, the first body that Jamie Lee Curtis discovered had me. Like that one, I jumped so hard. I thought I was gonna go pole vaulting. Like that's how high I, I jumped. Um, but that was the only time. I like that they didn't make the kids super annoying. Like the kids were kind of cute and they weren't obnoxious or anything like that. They kind of just were kids. Um yeah, so those were in my popcorn paradise. Uh I didn't have too much in the popcorn paradise. It wasn't a bad uh thing necessarily. But yeah, what shall we go onto the popcorn prison because I feel like you have a lot for the popcorn
I don't
prison.
have terrible amount of stuff for
Okay.
the I mean overall I don't know, I wasn't entertained by this movie. And for
Really?
me, the entertaining part of it is like that's what I watch a movie for, is to be entertained. And I was not necessarily entertained very much by this movie. I think it has a lot to do with the style.
Mm,
Like, is this movie any different than Scream? No, not really. It's a slasher movie. It doesn't
yeah.
have much comedy in it, but it's a slasher movie. It takes itself very serious.
Yeah.
It's eh, a little bit gory, not too much gory. But yeah,
Listen, I liked how they built up Michael Myers. I like how they kind of like you but listen, I'll leave that for popcorn prison. I like how they built him. You see him driving around. He's has a presence throughout the whole movie. You don't know what he's doing, but Dr. Loomis is like he's very scary, and he's not to be underestimated. And you're kind of like, okay, why? He hasn't done anything. All he's doing is driving around town in his automobile. I mean, who's paying for that gas? He just got out of prison. Like, with what money? He's living in a dilapidated house. As if someone needs to get that guy some gas money stat because he's just driving, following people around the town. Um, you know, that was one that was something that was like a little kind of weird, but I like that he had a presence in general. But for the popcorn prison part is, why is he driving around without gas? Also, why are they out roaming around the insane asylum or the hospital? Just some random folks just hanging out on
I
the lawn.
think what happened there was they escaped. Michael Myers escaped
And let them
And
out.
while he escaped, they got out. I think that's how the movie was set up at the beginning. Not the
Okay.
beginning. The first one was the Michael Myers killing his sister, which I was a little bit surprised that he was a kid when he did that. I don't know, like I've never watched any of the Halloween movies.
Yeah.
I've never been a big like horror movie fan. They're not as scary as I originally thought they were,
Yeah.
and so maybe I'll watch more of them. But
Like I was deathly afraid of the It. I wonder if I went back if I would be like, nah, this ain't shit. Like I got this, right? Like I wonder if that's how I'd be now. But because this movie, it wasn't like particularly scary. There were a few jump scares here and there, but it was creepy. I would say I would give it a creepy factor. One thing I didn't like was that they didn't really give you too much backstory on Michael. You just see him stab his sister, his naked sister. And
that's part of the popcorn prison for me.
yeah,
I have something to bring up with that.
yeah. Um,
Later
yeah, you
on in the movie, when Jamie Lee Curtis's character finds the one of her friends sprawled out on the bed and the tombstone is above her.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
tombstone, if you take the years, I believe it's 57 to 73.
Okay.
If you take those, it's that girl's only 16
Right. And
and she
she's
was
naked.
naked. And it's like, I know the actress wasn't 16, but
Right, right.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know if don't particularly care for that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that was
An issue with that.
it felt a little weird. Like it
Right.
shouldn't have been like why was she even naked?
Yeah.
Like
And why did
what
she
was
have
the
to be
point?
16? She could have been 18 or 19,
Right.
right? I don't know.
Um
Kind of weird that they put that in there.
and then you see her go, Michael, and then he stabs her. He's nothing is wrong with this kid on the outside, but a pet peeve that I had is when they showed him when Jamie Lee Curtis pulled off his mask. You see his face is kind of deformed, but that wasn't the case when he was a kid. And as far as we know, nothing happened in prison to make him look different. So it was weird that they made him look like Quasimodo and he was a normal kid, just
Mm.
kind of psychopathic.
Unless he did that to himself while he was in that mental hospital, right? That's the only thing I could think of. But explain that, right?
Right. Like, isn't he on watch? Like, isn't he locked up? Don't they like check to see if people have like there are so many questions I have, and maybe I don't know, I think there's a few of these movies too, so maybe they start doing some more backstory stuff with these movies. I don't know, but those were some issues that I had with this particular movie. um Also, why were the cop and the doctor, why were they checking a house in the nighttime with the world's worst flashlight? Like single filament flashlight. Like was there was like one stream of small little circular light pointing wherever they shone the flashlight. And I just thought that's so
It's all they
stupid.
could
Why wouldn't
afford
you
in the
go in the
budget.
day?
It's all they could afford in the budget.
The crappy flashlight.
Yeah, $325,000 budget.
That was like the dollar store flashlight. And not, um yeah, I mean, I guess at that time they didn't have LEDs that we have now, but yeah, it was just a little crazy.
That flashlight somebody just brought from home on set.
I'm sure.
Like they didn't go out and buy it.
No,
They
that
probably borrowed a
flashlight
bunch of
was
stuff.
on set by accident. That's
They probably just borrowed the mask from a friend.
yeah.
Well, it would like John Carpenter wrote the score for the movie too.
Oh, he
That's
did.
how low budget it was. Like
Wow.
him and his girlfriend wrote the script, he directed, and he did the score.
You know what? The score is good. I think it does what it needs to do. It is repetitive,
And I've heard
but
that. I've heard that. It's not, I mean, that music before somewhere.
I've heard it's on all the like Halloween um compilation CDs, like the creepy sound
Yeah.
CDs. It's
Okay.
on all of those because I have a few of those, and I used to play them when the kids trick or treated. I played in the background or whatever, and it's
Okay.
always on there. So it's a very well known song, and that's why I give it some credit there because it has developed quite like, even if you're not a fan of Halloween movies, you know that song. You've heard it somewhere, like you said, like
Yeah.
you recognize it from somewhere. So, now I want to get into some of the actors in this movie. Um, Annie, Annie was killing me, man. Like I couldn't, and they gave her so much screen time. I found her highly obnoxious. Acting was awful. She was the worst out of the three girls. The worst.
There was
Yeah.
another line in there too. When they were when she dropped the kid off, pretty sure the kid was named Lindsay. Dropped the kid off with Jamie Lee Curtis so that
Right.
Tommy and her could hang out. And Jamie Lee Curtis was supposed to um babysit the kid. And
Right.
then the other girl went and got the boyfriend. When they were going into the house and they were like macking on each other,
Mhm.
he's like, I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna rip your clothes off. And she's like, says something like, oh, don't be so aggressive or whatever. And or whatever the line was. But then she made a comment, something along the lines of, I'll rip your clothes off. And then he's like, I'll rip your clothes off. And then we'll both rip Lindsay's clothes off together. And it was
Yeah,
just
that
like,
was in the car before
yeah,
they went in. Yeah.
yeah. And I'm
And I
just
was
like,
like,
isn't she like that 7-year-old girl? What, like, that is, I don't know what these people are implying in this movie.
no, yeah, I don't know. And
Because
then,
literally, when I went to the Internet Movie Database and looked at the people,
right.
and um, I had
Maybe,
noticed that,
maybe they said Annie because Annie was supposed to be at the house,
right, but she was supposed
right?
to bring the kid, right? Like she was bringing the kids.
Was she?
Yeah, like he said, Lindsay.
Yeah, that's strange then. That would be really gross.
Yeah. Anyways, I don't know what they're
Um,
trying to imply in this movie.
Also, like, I know Mike Myers is creepy, but he was like, sorry, Michael Myers was creepy. He's standing watching these two get um get freaky with
Getting it
it.
on. Oh yeah.
And I was like, dude, the privacy, like, what are you doing? He's like lurking in the shadows, just watching. I was like, oh boy. Like,
Yeah. So I was
yeah.
reading that the actress that played Lindsay, the young girl that was hanging out with Tommy, she's actually uh Paris Hilton's aunt.
Really
Yeah.
interesting. I'm sure there's a lot of those connections because it's such an old movie. You know, even Jamie Lee Curtis, I like she's very young in this movie, and I wondered like how she would even get into that, you know, because she's not particularly, I'm not saying she's ugly by any means, but she's not who I would consider your typical Hollywood starlet, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I was kind of like wondering about that. But yeah, I think that this movie was okay. I don't know. Did you
Sniff.
find it at all entertaining?
News
Or were
fest.
you were like, "Nah, I'm
This was
done.
news fest.
Turn it off
Yeah.
now."
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I've actually lost respect for my friend who recommended this movie. He's supposed to be the expert on Halloween movies. And if he's listening to this, you're a fraud.
You know what? I like this movie. You know what? It was better than what was the other one with
Friday
the
the
other,
13th.
yeah, Friday the
Friday the
13th.
13th was awesome. This
No.
movie was
Yeah.
trash. Yeah.
Jeff, no, shut your dirty mouth.
No,
I,
this movie
I
was
was like,
trash.
no, no, Friday the
I hope the
13th
second
was.
one's better.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so too with all these movies because there's 90, 100 of each of them. So, um, yeah, I mean, let us know what your favorite Halloween and your favorite Friday the 13th movie version is, you guys, because like the first ones are not it. Like I'm telling you, we did not care for them particular. I mean, Jeff seemed to like Friday the 13th. I want to give them all his popcorn, but I am saving all my popcorn for something
Yeah,
better.
if I going into this, I would have, instead of doing Friday the 13th, I would have maybe done Saw or something like that. You know,
You're trying to
right.
kill me. You're literally trying to kill me. I had a hard enough time. I every time you suggest one,
Right.
I'm like, I
Not
get
Friday the 13th, Halloween. Sorry. Instead of
okay.
Friday the 13th was great. This one was trash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Instead of doing
no, it's
Halloween,
the
I should have
opposite.
done Saw or something like that.
Oh no. Yeah, I would have a hard time with Saw. I you know what? For this podcast, for you guys, I will watch what I need to watch, but I might not enjoy it so much. This movie for me is a medium, a popcorn. That is my thing. It was there's some good jump scares. There was a build up, had an okay pace. It wasn't like terrific. Like I said, he's driving around in this car flexing like he got all the gas money in the world, and I don't know where it's coming from. I had problems, like little things like that. But the character himself, I find creepy, so that is why I gave it a medium popcorn. Yeah. What about you, Jeff? Oh, here it comes.
This is kids' popcorn.
Ooh,
Trash. Well,
wow.
my horror friend expert is a fraud. I'm disappointed that I wasted my time watching this movie. I don't
Yeah,
recommend it. Hopefully, the second one's better. This was just all around a
a
turd.
dud. A,
Turd.
a turd. Not even a dud. It went
No,
to
the
straight to
turd.
turd status. Wow. Well, I felt
Not
that
the
way
worst
about
movie I've
Friday.
ever seen, but oh boy, it's down there.
So what? All right, Jeff does not recommend this movie, guys. So
Don't waste your
no,
time.
don't.
Skip this
Yeah,
one.
I feel like Friday the 13th. Maybe if they start on number 5, like what I said for Friday the 13th, they might get somewhere. But yeah, I mean, this is a classic horror movie. People are gonna watch it. I'm just saying, if you haven't watched it before, don't be disappointed. It is what it is, you know?
I think
And
for me, the reason why I don't like it is earlier I had mentioned, how is this movie any different from Scream? I
yeah,
think for me, I think what the difference really is just the like the time period that it was made. This was made in the late 70s.
yeah,
All the effects are super practical.
practical.
Not saying that Scream effects aren't practical, they're practical as well.
Yeah,
But in a movie like this, and to a certain degree, even Friday the 13th, because they have to make it look a specific way to make it look real, it ends up kind of looking a little hokey,
fake.
right?
Yeah.
It looks, yeah,
And now and actually the practical effects that they have now are so much better. Even the makeup is
yeah,
better.
right,
Like everything is just better
yeah,
now that we have. And so, with these older movies, there is a little more ches that's added, like some fromage is added on there, but you got to take it with a grain of salt and just
yeah.
kind of watch it for what it is. And if you enjoy a horror movie, then you might just like this movie. But Jeff did not, and I thought it was okay. So, you know, do, do you do what you feel is right. And on that note, I'm going to tell my mom joke. All right. Oh, there's a jersey.
Yeah, he's here.
Um, did you hear the one
Trying
where
to jump scare me.
did you hear the one where the Italian got stabbed?
No,
He passed away. Yeah. That one was good.
Jersey didn't like it.
Oh.
He's
Jersey's
the
not
he's the comedy judge. He's just
Jer-
looking at me like, really? That?
Jersey's tired. I'm not counting it. That was a good one. I like that one. I'm going to use that one in real life. Well, this is real life, but I mean, like, you know, in every day. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching the Popcorn Patrol podcast. Jeff, tell them where they can find us.
You can find us. Our podcast is hosted on YouTube and Spotify. You can find us on Apple Podcasts. Our social media, we have Twitter, we have Facebook, Instagram, occasionally TikTok. You can find us on all the places that you like to use.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, subscribe, leave a comment. We like feedback. You can tell us that we suck. We're not going to be upset. If you don't
Yeah.
like something, it won't get changed unless you tell us.
Right. That being said, guys, this is the last of our Halloween spooktacular specials. We hope you enjoyed this month. Next month we have some veteran war movies for you, for all the veterans and not veterans that enjoy a good war movie out there. That will be coming up in the month of November. And then we're into some Christmas movies for the month of December. So please stick around, check us out, and we hope you enjoyed the podcast and you'll join us again. Thank you so much, and we hope you're well. Take care. Peace out. Popcorn Patrol out.